just moving now to Donald Trump, because the US election is coming up in November, so it could be that there is a new president in Washington. Washington Post reported that at a closed door New York campaign fundraiser at the end of May, Donald Trump suggested that he, quote, would have bombed Moscow and Beijing if Russia invaded Ukraine or China invaded Taiwan, much to the surprise of some of the donors. And yet, in an April 12th interview with Time magazine, and generally what he says in public, actually, this goes a little bit further. He said, Communist China's leaders have to understand that things like that can't come easy, an invasion, Trump says, but he declined to say whether he would come to Taiwan's defense. So I want you to assess what you think is the difference between these two approaches by Trump and Biden.
Well, I mean, Trump, as we all know, is Mr. Uncertainty and Mr. Unpredictability, I should say. And I think this
so
just goes to show.
So he's neither clarity nor ambiguity.
Well, he will keep you in suspense, as you like to say, right?
Strategic suspense.
Indeed. Oh, wow. It's fun how whenever we add the word strategic to anything, it just sounds so much cooler. But I mean, potential President Trump, obviously he has a largely transactional style of diplomacy that we are all familiar with from 2016 and 2020 and when he was in power in the US. And so I think his recent statement, these two statements sound slightly curious as well, because when he said that China should understand that things like that, meaning taking Taiwan, cannot come easy. That obviously creates room for different interpretation, because it doesn't mean that it doesn't come cheap or that it cannot come at all. I think that already is creating room for ambiguity there. So one could easily interpret it to mean a bargaining tactic vis-a-vis Beijing. So in that sense, that's not the best message. The other message...
But it's just purely deterrence, isn't it?
It could be deterrent, or you could be driving a hard bargain using a maximum pressure. So I think, again, that's probably his point as well, that he will always keep you in suspense. And that way he keep everybody on their toes, and that way he probably maintain the highest flexibility for himself and maybe a bargaining leverage vis-a-vis everyone else, both Beijing, Taiwan, and others. So I think that's Trump. One thing to know, however, that the other comment cited by Washington Post when he said that at the closed door fundraiser, he said, he would have bombed Moscow and Beijing if Russia invaded Ukraine or if China invaded Taiwan. Two things to note. One thing is that the Washington Post and other media went after that event to check with Trump's campaign spokesperson for further details, and to my understanding, no further details were provided on that particular comment. And also, that Washington Post story said that at the campaign fundraiser, when people heard that, some of the donors were surprised. So donors presumed that those who support Mr. Trump enough and presumably know him enough to want to donate major bucks to his campaign to help him get elected. So if it's comments like that, attitude like that from Trump is surprising to them, maybe it also is a sign that means we should look into this a little bit more as well.
Do you think that feedback then tells Trump, you know, what his future election comments should be on Taiwan? Or do you think that he doesn't listen to other people? He has his own idea. He will say whatever he wants, and he won't actually let people know what his real position is on the defense of Taiwan until it actually happens.
Yes, I think so, and I agree with Wen-Ti. I think Trump right now is trying to keep the Taiwan card as close as possible to his chest. He doesn't want anybody to make a guess. Everybody should just say that, okay, the United States would do something, but what kind of reaction the US is going to adopt, that remains unknown. And I think it seems to me that Trump is trying to use this kind of strategy, not only for a big bargain with China, but also trying to make sure that he has the most room to maneuver if anything happens.
Just quickly on the bargaining, you both mentioned that.
Yes.
What sort of example would you mean by Trump bargaining?
There are some other news reports reveal that when interviewed, Trump suggested that Taiwan is such a big leverage against China. So if he can get more, that will be easier to reveal his own intention about this question. But until that day happened, I think he will keep everybody guessing on this question. Yeah.
So you think that do you have any views on whether he might use that leverage?
I think maybe trade will be the big issue here. If he can force China to make a lot of concession on that issue, then that should be okay. But if not, maybe he will try to use everything as a mixture. Taiwan is part of this bargaining chip. Trading issue, of course, is part of this bargaining chip, and also some other international security related issues. For example, the Korean Peninsula might be part of this package.